I'm introducing my new breakthrough series of Earthshift webinars. In this new series, we discuss my future prognosis, prophecies, and predictions for the four superpowers, the future of the US after elections, the karma and future of Europe and EU, the 100-year plan and the future expansion of China, and the culmination of this series, Russia's Silk Roads and the future of Eurasia. The first in this series, Webinar 15, The Future of the US, is available starting January 7th, 2021 on Lada.com. The following webinar, The Karma and Future of Europe, will be out later in January 2021. China and Russia webinars are planned in February and March. All webinar information is found at Lada.com. Buy Webinar 15 on Lada.com starting on January 7th. Hello friends, this is Lada and greetings to you again and Happy New Year 2021. I decided to record some more messages before the year 2020 ends and then as the new year 2021 begins. This one is pretty much taking stock of the previous year and the entire decade that we went through. Many things changed. We are in the midst of the great Earthshift, great rebalancing, inverted collapse. We're in the midst of major tectonic shifts all over the world, changes that are coming to us from all directions, and it is very exciting. It is very interesting and amazing to be a part of all this, but it can also be very tough, very difficult, very challenging. And say, for example, in 2020, we met with a challenge nobody really anticipated per se, and that was COVID-19 into COVID-20. So COVID-19 or COVID-20, I wrote about it, I spoke about it in my whole new series of webinars, COVID-19 Catalyst and 2020-2026 predictions. I described to you what it is about, whether there is a conspiracy there, whether this is a naturally occurring thing, and what I foresee. Basically, I predicted in so many writings and speakings of mine that COVID is more an economic and political factor that will change the world in so many ways, economically and politically, than it is a health factor. And what other people are saying, whether this is a conspiracy or something else, everything is discussed in that series of webinars. So I recommend that you basically purchase that series of webinars if you want to know my view and my standpoint, which is the higher dimensional standpoint. I basically shared tons of additional information and predictions with you on Patreon, guys, those who are members of my Lada Patreon site, which is patreon.com/Lada. You have found a lot of material as well on Patreon that relates to my predictions, to my prophecies, to the multidimensional universe, to quantum calibrations, to various other things, of course, everything to do with Earthshift and inverted collapse, my theories, the phrases I coined, and all this is available on Patreon. I shared what I could with you on social media platforms. We also did several fabulous Q&As, which again are posted and available for my patrons on Patreon. And what I'm doing now, I'm going to be sharing parts of these Q&As and some other parts of other things that I discussed with my patrons, with my advanced members on Patreon. I will be sharing them for free on YouTube, on Futures Trendcast, on other social media such as Twitter. And I will also be doing other things. Some will be free, others will be for participants, such as the new webinar series, which is Lada Future Prophecies and Predictions for USA, Europe and the EU, as well as China, and Russia and Eurasia. This whole series will start coming out in January. Expect the beginning of the series between January 6th and 7th approximately, and that's going to be the future of the US, elections aftermath. Then we proceed to Europe, then it will be China, and then the Russia and Eurasia webinar will follow after that. So stay in touch, and Lada.com will have my entire schedule. Patreon has schedule, and I usually post information on Futures Trendcast as well. that said, there are certain things which I want to discuss with you which are not that positive. So what I just said are things pretty much positive, or they're just like business as usual, right? And this year, the year 2020, has been for me very good year in so many ways. So many things became clearer to me, certain new resolutions and new ways of looking at things. And even the fact that COVID was restricting everything, even that allowed me to sit down and reassess certain things in my life and reassess certain approaches, also make promises to myself that I'm fulfilling gradually one by one, also start new things, learn new things, as well as share new things with you guys. As well as start new platforms, start thinking about new things that I will be doing in 2021, start planning them. And all this went very well. So for me, the year has been nice, prosperous, and despite the fact that everything was closed down and some people could not tolerate that. See, I work from home. So for me, this is not much of a change. I also observed a lot and made more conclusions about the human behavior. Human behavior is becoming clearer and clearer to me. I also got a lot of new clients. Hello, all my new clients. Hello, all my wonderful, beautiful Patreon members or my Patreon family. I'm wishing you especially a wonderful new year. So all this was like very nice for me. Okay, the year went very well. And I expect 2021 to go even better. However, I know that some people were not coping very well. I tried to lift up your spirits throughout the year as much as I could. And another thing that is happening, which I have been predicting since 2014, and especially in my new series of webinars, COVID-19 Catalyst and 2020-2026 predictions, as well as for years, I've been talking about it on Patreon several times. We are continuing our transition into lower 4D. That's consciousness that is lower 4D, and it is reality that is lower 4D. And lower 4D reality, that's pretty much internet, computers, smartphones, World Wide Web, all that. And trade, purchasing, shopping, everything through the internet, as well as social media, of course, as well as giants like YouTube, like search engines like Google, a lot of our lives like Instagram, Twitter, etc. And our lives are more and more cycled into the internet, into this lower 4D consciousness, into the lower 4D reality, which is virtual reality as opposed to physical incarnated, fully incarnated reality. So we live in our bodies, but we think already very much in terms of lower 4D consciousness, which is virtual, what we call virtual today. I mean, I do not necessarily agree or like this word very much, but it is what it's called, so that everybody understands it, so that everybody is on the same page. We will continue calling it virtual reality. So in that regard, it opens up new opportunities for us. For example, I can find audience, I can find followers, and I can find clients all over the world. I can also deliver my messages to people all over the world, regardless of where they are physically. They can see me, hear me, read my content. Also, these people, those people who crave content like mine, they can find me, technically speaking, wherever, whichever corner in the world they're in. And all this is wonderful. All this would be fine and good, because that opens up so many doors, so many new roads and possibilities. This is terrific, seemingly, right? However, new and new restrictions are coming on the internet, in all guises, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Google, whether it's search engines, whether etc., etc., many things. Not to mention the low calibrated humans, dark forces of all kinds. They're also seeping through. And every one of these has their own agenda, whether it's giants like YouTube, Google, Twitter, etc., or Facebook, let's not forget that, or it is individuals with their own agenda, or dark forces of some sort, or people with very low consciousness who actually bring a lot of negativity and a lot of unpleasantness to the interaction. And so the good people then get attacked by the bad entities, bad people, people with low consciousness. And on top of that, what we have is the potentially bans or shadow bans or sabotage, we could calling it the old word that we used to use. Physically, that would be sabotage, but in virtual world it's called shadow banning. And so I have met with shadow banning of all my content, whether it was YouTube, whether it was my blog, or even Twitter to a degree. I think there is some shadow ban going there too, and my website Lada.com. All this I met with shadow banning since sometime in 2017. It was very slight at the time because I was in top searches since 2014. By the time we got to 2017 and I started publishing my webinars, I started seeing shadow ban energies out there. By 2018, I already was absolutely confident that I was being shadow banned. And what is shadow banning? That's like suppression. They try to put a lid on your content. They do not ban you outright, so you're seemingly out there. And Seeker asked me this very good question, which of course we will mention that also in webinar 15, which is coming up in the beginning of January, US future elections aftermath. In this webinar, I am also going to talk about a lot of things such as freedoms. And Seeker asked me about the future of freedoms and can I give examples where freedoms might be encroached on or where it's going to be less free. Incidentally, the freedom of speech, as we understood it before, of course, being encroached on. But we live in a very different world. We live in a world, as I said, it's virtual. To me, I classify it as lower 4D world that we're transitioning, humanity is transitioning in so many ways into. And so what is happening now, certain forces want to take this under control. There's no like freedom of speech per se on the internet anymore. There is a lot of shadow banning, that's censorship. Banning, of course, it's outright blatant censorship. Taking channels on YouTube, like some channels that I know, they get taken off monetization, which means that they cannot make money because content is completely free there. They cannot make money on advertisements of all sorts. That means that all the giant work that goes into making each of the videos, and believe me, it's a giant amount of work that goes into each single video or audio or article I write or anybody out there does. I mean, we work 24/7. There's so much work that goes into that, and so all this is for nothing. You know, you can only do the free work for so long. You actually need to eat. You actually need to make enough money to sustain yourself somehow. So those who constantly want free content and don't want to give anything back, you know, they're practically shooting themselves in the foot, because if nobody gives back to those who share content with you, then what happens in the end? That content eventually will disappear. So if you like some content, support such people, so whoever that is and wherever that is, you like the content, find donation button and donate to them, or participate. Like a lot of people now have Patreon channels where you can actually contribute something and support your favorite creator that way. I personally, my Patreon channel is very different. My Patreon site, rather, is very different than others. I do not just ask for your contribution while I share free content elsewhere. I actually do the opposite way. This is where all my main content is nowadays. And once in a while, I'll share free content with everybody on YouTube and Futures Chancast and Twitter, etc. But my main content, my in-depth, and it's right regular content is like several times a week, at least twice a week, I post something, oftentimes more often. It is very rare that I don't post at least 2 posts per week. Most of them are advanced posts, analytics, predictions, quantum calibrations, my prophecies, my various analysis, multidimensional universe. Sometimes it's like higher dimensional content such as spirituality, such as tips on how to grow spiritually, and certain other things that are very, very advanced, my theories, etc. So all that is on patreon.com/Lada. Other people do it differently, but there are many ways of supporting the creator you like, because if we see your support, then we actually can share more. If we do not see enough support and everybody is stingy, there's only so long that we can go without eating, you know. So basically, when YouTube shadow bans or bans some creator or deletes their monetization, then what happens is that those people can't even sustain their channel anymore. So monetization for those channels that are large, I mean, that's not my channel. My channel is very small. It's only about 2,000 subscribers in Lada YouTube channel, and very small 2 other channels, Multidimensional Universe and Timeless and Past Readings. And those are auxiliary channels, basically. So my main channel, Lada, is pretty small, so that's not me. But those who have large channels, like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, for example, those people actually rely on monetization on YouTube as their income in exchange for sharing free content. So if you delete monetization, as happened to some Russian channels, actually there were lots of attacks against Russian channels by YouTube who took off their monetization or just banned the channels, then of course that dampens our spirits, that dampens our desire to work, you know, that puts everything on this negative spin instead of the positive spin. When you are creative, when you want to share more, when you have this like sparkling creativity. And when I discovered that, I pretty much, I lost any interest in sharing much on YouTube. Now, also, of course, with my small channel, and they also, even those channels that are monetized, maybe you used to get at least a little bit for your monetization, at least some sort of support, even with a small channel. In my case, because geopolitical content never paid well, and currently they took practically all the ads over those channels. They completely sabotage people who are pro-Russian. You know, that, so there's no point in even monetizing my videos. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So my main content is either in webinars and in future workshops that I will open in 2021, or it is also on Patreon. Patreon has tons and tons, hundreds and hundreds upon hundreds of my written articles. Very important, advanced content is all there, guys. Of course, as I said, webinars, that's like big content by topic is in my webinars. Go to lada.com under programs, and then you know, drop down menu, go to webinars there. There are also Q&As. I started doing Q&As. We've done 3 major Q&As, and those Q&As also contain a lot of my important content. Of course, you can find some freebies on lada.com, and you can read my book, which is Geopolitical Quantum Calibrations. That book is available on Amazon and elsewhere. You can buy it as an ebook, or you can buy it as a paperback on Amazon internationally, or on any other international distributor, whether it's in the US or elsewhere in the world, and you will be just sent that book. So there, it's very convenient purchasing. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you is that I was never banned. outright because my energy is more gentle and more higher dimensional. Some people don't even perceive it because their consciousness is too low to perceive that energy. And I was never like in your face. I was never like aggressively criticizing anything. I am very reasonable, and I deliver things that help humanity, that actually help you grow your consciousness, that help you see the truth. But I'm also a very gentle soul, a very reasonable soul, as I mentioned, right? And because of that, very logical, because of that, of course, there is no reason to ban me. There is no way of banning me. I give you facts. I double check and triple check those facts. I give you the entire logical chain of reasoning. I give you predictions, that sort of stuff. You cannot ban for that. So what they do, they shadow ban. And as I said, monetization is non-existent and viewership is non-existent because of shadow banning. Shadow banning pretty much puts a lid on your content and nobody can see you. Even if you subscribe to my channel, but you did not click on the bell is notification. It's on under the video on the right side. Is a small gray bell. You should see it right next to subscribe, or subscribed if you're already subscribed to the channel. So there's like very small grayish whitish bell there. If you click on that, you will receive notifications from my channel. That means that you will receive those notifications in your email and you will not miss my videos on YouTube. That applies to YouTube only. And so if you're not clicking on that bell, and if you're not checking your YouTube timeline, your subscriptions on YouTube frequently, then you definitely are missing my videos all the time, okay? Because I will never show up anywhere. You will not see me as a recommended video, because recommended videos, they push to the top those that are convenient for them. They push to the very bottom, which means like putting the lid on it, like, you know, obfuscating it, hiding it from everybody. They push channels like me. If I'm already blacklisted, and I am everywhere on Google search engines, before they caught on to the content, to my content and content of others who did not agree with the official party line of the US, before they caught on in 2014, 15 and 16, I was in search engine tops of Google and other search engines. The moment they caught on in 2017, and then after that less and less so, I was showing up there, and now I am practically not showing at all until unless you really know what you're looking for and type in my name, type in ladaray.com, or type in my YouTube channel or my Patreon site or Future Shancast. Only then you can find me. Or some topic with my name or something like that. So if you're searching, you need to search with my name, Lada Ray, or name of my site, such as Lada Ray YouTube channel, or Lada Ray Patreon, or Future Shancast Lada Ray, or other things like Lada Ray on Twitter or Facebook, etc. Only then you can come across me, and then maybe even then you cannot come across me. Anyway, you have to like really search with my name. So because of that, you know, I'm not showing anywhere, and basically I saw my viewership and my readership, etc., drop dramatically. However, my readership, my viewership on Patreon is stable, and sometimes it's increasing. My clientele is increasing. People who are followers, but outside of Patreon, they're also increasing. So whatever is not dependent on YouTube, on Google, on Facebook, on all these others, is actually either very stable, okay, with a lot of following that is very loyal, or it is increasing. So people are discovering me through other channels, like, for example, they go to ladaray.com. Well, all this being said, what am I going to do about this? Because I've been planning things, and I've been thinking about it, and little by little, I'm programming my life and my business in such a way that it actually suits me, and I'm not dependent. I'm not at the mercy of all these vultures who are here to proliferate their own agenda, and who are not allowing any opinion that is dissented even slightly, that is different even slightly from theirs. And as I said, my opinion is very balanced, extremely. My point of view is extremely multidimensional. I actually explain everything. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but even that they cannot tolerate. So I've been basically blacklisted everywhere. Even Futurist Trendcast blog, which is WordPress, and of course, WordPress works through search engines. If you are blacklisted on search engines, forget it. Okay, so this whole situation has gone for several years. Since 2018, it's been pretty bad. And 2019 even worse. And I finally made peace with it. At first, of course, it bothered me. I'm only human, right? No matter my dimension, I'm only human. Still, I have human emotions. I put tons and tons of work, tons and tons of care into all this. And if I'm not seeing enough feedback, enough return, what am I supposed to think? And of course, some of my readers, they're hiding from authorities and stuff. So they don't want to they don't want to put up their comments. They want to preserve their, they care about themselves. What about me, right? So I'm supposed to put myself out there, and I get no feedback, no positive reinforcement of any sort. And I want to share more with you guys, but I'm unable to if I see silence on the other side. So what I decided to do is transfer the majority of my content into several venues. And as I said before, number one, that's Lada.com, where you can find any links to my important works, where you can purchase my webinars and my consultations, as well as there will be reports also, and workshops are starting. A new subscription is starting in 2021. Those will be separate announcements in January. And in addition to that, of course, there are consultations, as I said, plus there are some freebies, and there are links to my other places and platforms where you can find me, including social media, including some material, my theories, etc., and of course my Patreon, patreon.com/LadaRay. And that's where I share weekly, sometimes 2-3 times a week, sometimes even more frequently, lots and lots of important and great things. But that is also going to be only part of what I do, because there will be a new subscription and new workshops as well. Of course, webinars is where a lot of very in-depth, important material by topic is shared, my predictions, etc., etc. Mainly webinars, Earthshift webinars are based on my predictions, my theories, as well as my prophecies, like my prognostications into the future. This is what webinars are mostly about. Of course, there is a series of webinars that is called Forbidden History. That is our forbidden history and forbidden past and forgotten origins. That goes into the past more than into the future. So I will be working some more on that. And we, of course, are kind of locked into this reality, right? So with YouTube, I will be working in a different way. I will be sharing some of the snippets of the Q&As, some parts of the Q&As that I had with you, and please look for my announcements and advertisements. Everything will be demonetized. I'm not going to monetize any of my videos anymore. They don't bring any money anyway. And if there are some kind of ads or commercials, that only irritates the viewer. But I'm not getting paid for that anyway, because they pay you like 2 cents per video, I guess. So I'd rather have that as a platform where instead of advertising somebody else's merchandise or somebody else's stuff that nobody cares about, I will give you some information and also advertise my own stuff. And this is how YouTube will be used going forward. Also, of course, my Facebook remains, like, it's very small there. There's Twitter. You can subscribe on Twitter. follow me on Twitter. If you are my patron on Patreon, then I will probably follow you. Most likely you can even send me a message, not a message, but tweet me and say, hey, I'm on Twitter now, and I will gladly like your stuff, and sometimes I follow back. I cannot follow back everybody, but just keep in mind that if you are my active supporter on Twitter, very likely I'll follow you back on Twitter. And that's one way of keeping in touch with me. Of course, ladaray.com. Go periodically to my site and check what's new there, because I mean, I don't even trust YouTube. I don't know if tomorrow they might delete my channel or something. Well, I'm well protected, but God knows they can do whatever, and things are only getting worse in that regard. Freedoms, as Seeker was asking us, are getting worse. It's actually, we're going in the direction of authoritarianism without the figure at the top, like a prominent defined figure at the top in the West or in the US that would be authoritarian. Well, sure, there is US president, but US president is a figurehead primarily. Sometimes, like Trump, he tried to do some of his things, some of his ideas, but they reined him in very nicely. They put him in a straitjacket. He wanted to drain the swamp. He sort of like drowned in that swamp a little bit. I know some of the Trumpistas hate hearing something like this, but I predicted that he would be put in a straitjacket and he would be making deals to survive, and he will not be able to do anything very, very definitive and very good. What he promised to do, he will not be able to do much, and that's exactly what happened in the past 4 years. And I did predict that he will not be re-elected. Since 2017 I predicted that, and 2020 again reconfirmed on more than one occasion and definitively said that he lost election, and that's exactly what happened. Whether there is a conspiracy, we're not going to touch here. Conspiracy theories abound about this. This is not about that. I'm just saying that my predictions tend to come true. And that's another reason to subscribe to Lada Patreon and buy my webinars, where all this is described, where all my predictions are really laid out. Okay, so I'm going to continue using these all these platforms, all this social media and YouTube and such. And I will continue at Patreon, which will acquire a more of a earth shift / geopolitical direction in 2021. And I will be working on new subscription, which will be completely non-geopolitical, guys. And outside of Patreon, it's going to be private subscription, which belongs to me. Because of all these shadow bans and the risk even with Patreon, I'm starting a new subscription. And this subscription will be outside of any of these platforms with private subscription service, much more free from all these influences, shadow bans, potential bans, potential like deletions, right? Will belong to me. It will be all mine, and it's a lot harder to do. There are so many moving parts there, and it's pretty expensive to start, but I will be doing it for sure in 2021. So await my new subscription. That subscription will be multi-dimensional subscription. It will be non-geopolitical. I will be sharing with you my multi-dimensional universe, quantum calibrations, and earth shift theories, and future predictions and prophecies, as well as spiritual content, highly spiritual content, higher dimensional content there. I'll be talking about higher dimensions, how various dimensions work, how different souls incarnate, whether it's angels or demons for that matter, or demonics, I call them, or reptilians or greys or higher dimensional beings from other dimensions, whether on planet Earth, such as elementals or the wise ones, or from other worlds in our galaxy and beyond our galaxy, in other galaxies. They incarnate here, how they come in, how they work, how various worlds out there, how they exist, how they work. So many topics I want to share with you. Also practical knowledge about prosperity, how to to create like an aura of prosperity and abundance, and how to increase your wealth. There are so many topics we will be discussing. That will be a separate announcement very soon. So this subscription will be about that. And you will be receiving, if you're part of my private subscription, you'll be receiving a discount on my future workshops. And of course, on my webinars, my existing webinars, definitely as well. But there will be a very substantial discount on future workshops. And workshops will also be practical, hands-on, pretty small groups. Okay, we'll have small groups for workshops. And it will be higher dimensional, multidimensional, earth shift, quantum calibrations, etc., etc. All these like worlds will be talking about, worlds will be talking about spirituality, lots of different topics, which will be, I will be teaching you how to do. There will be classes essentially, and in these classes, in these workshops, we will be meeting probably regularly, maybe once a month, and this will be. Actually, you will be getting a benefit and a discount if you are a participant on my new subscription. Also, I'm preparing some guided meditations, which will be for sale in 2021 for star seeds, for light workers, for various categories out there. And many of you who are listening to this, most of you are in such categories. So there will be a lot of interesting material in those guided meditations as well. I'm sure you will enjoy them very much, because they will be very convenient to revamp your spirits, to kind of lift your spirits every time you need a reminder, anytime you need to reprogram your mind towards positivity from any negativity. There are other programs that will be coming online, and I will be for sale as well. And as I said, I also want to try to use YouTube and Futures Chancast by sharing with you certain things that we already discussed on Patreon, or we will be discussing in my private subscription. I will be sharing them as we go, parts of it, so more people could have access to it for free. So stay tuned to all this. Many more announcements are coming in January of 2021. And I also wanted to say that while I'm dissatisfied with how social media in the US functions, and of course all the social media is controlled by the US. Unfortunately, US owns the internet, owns the domain for the internet, hosting for the internet. And even if the hosting is supposedly located in Canada, it is still American. Okay, it's just like an appearance of being a little more detached from the US, but in reality it's still American. It is under American domain, under American control. There are certain things that could be found that are based in Europe. If they're based in the UK, that's the same thing as if they were based in the US. There are certain things that are based in Switzerland, so I'm looking into those, but they're rather small and limited. And the most important thing, that Russia is starting to develop its own hosting. So currently on Putin's desk, there is a resolution by the Russian Duma to start developing Russian-based hosting, because even those social media platforms that exist in Russia, that are Russian, in fact, like Telegram, VK, Odnoklassniki, and Yandex TV, I forget what it's called, Yandex something. Yandex is the search engine, Russian-based search engine. However, Yandex also has its equivalent to YouTube. But while they exist, they are weak platforms compared to the US-based platforms. The counterparts such as Instagram, such as Facebook, such as Twitter, such as YouTube, of course. So they're and such as search engines. Yandex is the equivalent, like, counterpart to Google, but it also is weaker compared to Google. So those are all private platforms, and for the most part, they're still either partially based or fully based abroad, even though they're owned by Russians. This is why, and they're also penetrated very deeply with Western interests. Their investors are Western, so they actually have a more Western slant. But if Russian government, and everybody in Russia trusts the government, I should not say everybody, but the majority. For example, if you're buying housing, people prefer to buy housing built by the government rather than by a private company, or at least where a share belongs to the government, because government is much more trusted in Russia than private companies. Therefore, if government starts developing, and if the resolution by Duma is already on Putin's desk, I was told, that means that it's coming. It is definitely coming, that this issue is very serious. If it went to Putin's approval and for his supervision, then that means he will be hands-on with this. And Russia will definitely, absolutely no question about it, start developing its own hosting very soon. And this is also important because in 2020, there was a slew of attacks against Russian-based sites, channels, various Facebook, Instagram accounts, etc. Many high-profile, such as Kadyrov's account. There are some high-profile channels on YouTube that were all attacked. It was a coordinated attack when they were banned or shadow banned, or they were demonetized, and some were simply deleted. Facebook and others, Instagram, constantly deletes Russian channels and Russian sites. I was banned on Facebook several times for a month, then it reappears. I actually stopped even caring about Facebook. It's like whatever, because it's like pointless to even try to post anything there. Then they suddenly ban you. What's even the point, right? I just share some of the things that came out, like free posts on Patreon and future Shandcast. I share them on Facebook or some of the YouTube things. So what I'm saying here is that I'm going to be watching very closely how Russia develops the hosting, its own hosting capability. And when I see something that I like, I will definitely join. If they develop a counterpart to YouTube, I'm very interested, because I tried Yandex and I forget the Yandex TV or something. And this Yandex TV, it is very good quality videos are posted there, but I'm not, and it's all Russian language. I'm sure there's probably some English language content there too, but I post English language content at this point. I simply don't have time to translate, even though of course I'm a native speaker in Russian, and I also know other languages such as Spanish, for example, Ukrainian, although I have not spoken it for years, but I fully understand it, of course, things like that. But I don't have time to translate to Russian. If somebody wants to translate my content for me, I'm all for it. I'm very interested in translations, whether it's Russian, German translation, Spanish translation, Portuguese maybe, any other language, guys. I'm very interested. I'm very welcoming of this. Any Nordic languages, French language, of course, Asian languages, Chinese, I would be very up for Mandarin and Cantonese translations, or Korean, or any Japanese for that matter, right? Any languages out there, African languages, but I believe everybody understands English in those parts as well. So my English content, you're welcome to translate it and share with us, post links. I'll be very happy to see that. However, for now, because it's just me, it is English speaking content. And as long as new Russian hosting allows English-speaking content, I will probably be there. I already tried to join VK. I tried to join Telegram, which is very popular right now. That's sort of like an equivalent of Facebook, I would say, or maybe Facebook, Instagram, because you can send messages there as well. But I was not enthused, let's just say. Okay, and Telegram is also owned by Russians, but they live abroad, they have an issue with the government had an issue with them. So it's like neither here nor there for me, as far as I'm, as far as I'm concerned. But basically, when it becomes strong enough, the presence there, I will join. I will start developing Russian hosting as an alternative to, say, YouTube or Twitter or Facebook here. Okay, so for now, this is where you can find me, and we will be in touch no matter what. As I said, once in a while, they send these shocks through the system, all these Western-owned, whatever they are. They also hire a lot of Ukrainians and a lot of bots to monitor any content that is related to Russia in any way. And even though I'm English-speaking content, I get flagged everywhere because of pro-Russian content. And while it's pro-Russian higher dimensionally, they don't even understand what I'm actually saying. But the moment they see something nice said about Russia, they just like go berserk, and they just like start deleting everything. So, I just refuse to be at the mercy of these creeps out there, these low lives, these lower dimensional souls. They don't know any better. I mean, they are like those who were punishing Jesus Christ, right? Those who were executing Jesus Christ. That's as far as their consciousness goes, guys. They only understand like this. You're either with us or you're against us. That's 2D consciousness. And unfortunately, with this 2D consciousness, they work in lower 4D reality. That's what's bizarre about our world, that we have some 2D and some lower 3D consciousness, which is not that much better, working and occupying positions in the lower 4D world on the internet, or posting comments that are very derogatory, hateful comments on YouTube, and their consciousness is in 2D, but they're posting the comment in the lower 4D reality, which is the internet. Okay, that's what's bizarre. I mean, their consciousness never grew, but they have access to higher dimensional structures. So I'm creating my own world. On the internet, what was great in real life and the internet, you can create your own world, your own reality. This is what I'm creating. So anybody who wants to join my wonderful, beautiful, higher dimensional reality, which is also very reasonable, which also stays firmly on the ground, but shoots for the stars. The reality that is, let's just say, very grounded. The reality is very forward-looking. The reality that wants to be positive no matter what, wants to be realistic no matter what, which actually does not hide reality and tells the truth, but also sees the best in everything, sees the future, sees the past, where everything, the entire giant universe is seen. If you are like me, if you think like that, then you're welcome to join me, because the huge, gigantic, beautiful universe, and sometimes ugly universe too, because we always tell the truth, opens up in front of you if you are part of my following. And as I said, you can find me on Twitter at Lada Tweets. You can find me on YouTube. Simply type on YouTube Lada Ray and my main channel will come up. But there are 2 auxiliary channels which I do recommend you subscribe to, although, it is up to you. It's Multidimensional Universe, a very small channel. I post some things there for safekeeping for now. And my webinars have some of them posted there, of course, for subscribers. Who knows, maybe we'll do something else there. And I have timeless and past readings, and I did a number of readings there. Of course, I also have Lada Ray blog on WordPress. That's ladaray.wordpress.com. I have my book site, author site, that will be linked below. And of course, my Patreon. Patreon.com/LadaRay. That's where all of my content very active, extremely active. We have terrific community there, wonderful people, and they all share a lot in comments. I comment in comments as well. Sometimes I share additional information. There's so much going on. It's very alive, very vibrant. So join us on patreon.com/LadaRay. And as I said, ladaray.com is where my webinars are, where my workshops will be posted, my subscription will be posted, and where my consultations are, and free content as well as a lot of links are posted there. All the events posted on homepage. I share with you everything that is the most important happening at this specific time. So without further ado, I'll say goodbye and Happy New Year 2021. Wishing you a wonderful, beautiful new year. Let all your wishes come true. Health, wealth, prosperity, success, great life. Wonderful wishes to all your families. And I'll see you again in 2021. Lots and lots more is coming your way in so many ways. Peace, and I'll see you soon, guys.